Welcome to the Eric and Mark Playground Rules Show. I'm your guest host, Sean. Today's scenario is unfair games and unclear rules. Most people feel that the rules of the corporate game keep changing and aren't always explained well, and they never seem to know how to win at work, get recognition, promotions, or even good projects sometimes. Often companies set up vague expectations, vague measurements, KPIs, confusing and sometimes conflicting priorities, and performance standards that feel very subjective or different depending on who the playground exec favors. These rules are fuzzy, and employees spend more time and energy guessing rather than doing good work. This creates anxiety, politics, instead of trust. Eric and Mark, I would love to get your perspective on how our viewers or our listeners should not only cope in these environments or in these scenarios, but thrive in these kinds of scenarios or organizations. Over to you.
Excellent scenario, Sean. You may have just revealed one of the biggest festering scabs that most organizations attempt to keep hidden from all their new hires and potential candidates. As it is human nature to seek environments that allow and foster personal and professional growth, who would go to a company if they knew that those two things were not only not possible, but were in addition to that hindered by spiteful cliques? The answer is nobody. It is only a certain time later, once you come to understand that the company you chose adheres to a work culture that rewards gossipers and traitors, that you realize that you may have made the wrong move. However, what's next depends on several factors. So the question being, how should our listeners cope and thrive in a toxic environment void of standard where promotions and opportunities are given with no other rhyme or reason than the manager felt like it? Is a hard question to answer without sounding bitter, conspiratorial, or jaded. You see, there's an interesting phenomenon on the playground where the people that question the status quo are labeled as the problem. I guess we can start by saying the first step is determining if we need to cope or have another option. For example, if you're 18, live at home, and are single, you don't have to tolerate or cope with much. But if you're married and have children, as a man, you must find the daily faith, mental and physical strength to cope and succeed. So the second step is, assuming you determine that quitting is not an option, you should start to design your exit plan. It can be difficult to stay somewhere that rewards laziness and perpetually piles work on the workers. The hardest thing is to not lose hope and start to deviate in a negative direction, like drinking or wasting time aimlessly wandering around. If you have a family or friends, spend quality time with them. If you don't, spend quality time talking with God or taking walks. Watch motivational speakers. Take a class, sit in the sun a few minutes, and run through a gratitude exercise. None of this is intuitive, my friends. These are the answers I have found make a positive difference, though. It's horrible being stuck. I've spoken to people in several fields, and it appears that the problem of being stuck is not only ascribed to one field. Once you're deep in it, it's hard to get unstuck. As I think about the question, another approach comes to mind. For our purposes here, we will label it the Mr. Miyagi method. For you Cobra Kai fans out there, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When he said, paraphrase, the best way to avoid getting hit in the face is not be there. What does that mean in our context here? It means don't put yourself in a position to have to cope, or to have to cope unnecessarily or more than reasonable. Study the company you're thinking about joining. Don't look for a job when you need one, because that pressure doesn't allow you to research and be careful and methodical. Strengthen your knowledge on a daily basis and network. Whatever field you go into, coping is a part of it. Even Jesus said, paraphrase, in this world you will have trouble, but have hope. I have conquered the world. So to sum it up, act in a way so as that you are not backed into a corner, or that you don't back yourself into a corner because you're in a rush. Make educated decisions. Trust the advice of wise people. Know you're not alone, and always seek ways to improve and nourish your hope.
Guys, I'm extremely, extremely proud of your insight into this matter. This is a matter that I think hits home for a lot of people. This kind of like what they call the moving target or changing of the rules, that kind of thing. I think that for people, they come in with the sort of, I guess you could say, ingrained or conditioned expectations, as we've talked about before in the show, and of how it's going to work. Going through school, hard work is going to pay off. Then you go to a certain college, You get a certain degree, and then you work hard and show a good attitude at the workplace that you're at, and then you get promoted and everything. We end up finding out it's very different. The reality check that we get when we enter the workplace and we keep on getting overlooked for the promotion, or we find out the rules of the game are not what we thought that they were, it is absolutely positively shocking. It is very difficult to deal with, especially for a guy like me. I grew up with all this, I don't want to call it rhetoric because I don't think that was the intention, but all this kind of like conditioning, from family and everything, like, oh yeah, all these things are going to work out for you. You just do the right thing and you just stay your course. And I don't know if they just believed it that way. They were conditioned to believe it that way. And I was made to condition, or I was conditioned to believe it that way. And I was very idealistic, And I'm not saying I always even worked hard, but I always believed that working hard was going to be, directly proportional to how much success I achieved. So I'm like, well, if I want more success, or I want a promotion, or I want to be noticed more, I want a raise, all I have to do is work a little harder, Well, it doesn't quite work that way. We all know, we've talked about several times now, and I want to reemphasize it because it's very important, the emphasis between character and personality, for example. Character, is the real substance of a person, what they bring to the table, their work ethic, maybe their communication, their value system, how much you can rely on them, etc. Personality is kind of like more the outer layer, like who are you on the surface without digging really too deep. You make people laugh, you're nice, you're funny, you're clever. Any number of things people like having you around. And like I said, personality, unfortunately, as Eric and I have talked about in the past, plays a much bigger factor than we think. You've got to go ahead. Yes, you want to work hard, you want to know stuff. But the thing is, you want to have or build those relationships and be liked by people if you want to be promoted. The thing is that sometimes I felt in my career like I'm liked by people, but I haven't really been liked by people that much who would really put me in a position to advance to the next stage, for example. Maybe they like me to a certain degree, the people who could advance me, but they like somebody else better, or maybe they just don't like me enough. And I think that I speak for a lot of people when I have that kind of feeling, like, what more do I need to do kind of thing? Putting in extra hours, trying to build a good business relationships, being approachable, having a good attitude. What are the rules? We are in a sea of ambiguity, and it's very, very difficult to, proceed through that sea of ambiguity. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like trying to run a mile in water, up to our chests. Yeah, people can do it, but it's just like, you might be sore and achy for the next mile, or you may have a disincentive to do the next mile. There's always like some kind of anchor weighing down, or some kind of buffer or barrier. Well, in this case, we have what we have. You have to be liked. You have to be either exceptional to the point that it's just like a no-brainer, or if you're kind of in the pool of everybody else and you're a little bit better than them merit-wise, you have to be liked. And people are probably wondering at times, am I good enough to be liked? Am I likable enough? What's wrong with me? And that's what the traces of where it goes to with the playground. One of the starting points is, why are we not good enough? And we keep on coming back to that. Hopefully we'll have more answers here soon. But in the meantime, yeah, as the guys have talked about, stay the course, do your thing, try to be as exceptional as possible. But yeah, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, build those relationships along the way. Because you can't go by the rules. You're going to have to go by somebody who matters somewhere, noticing you, wanting you to succeed, and wanting to have you nearby. So that's what it is. Why sugarcoat it? Good luck to all of you. And we'll talk to you next time.